Well, welcome to Life After Addiction and Indictment. Today I've got a guest, gentleman by the name of Mark Owens. Is that right, Mark?
That's it. Straight out of Baltimore.
Well, appreciate you coming on the show today. I'm excited to kind of hear your story, learn a little bit more about your journey and how, the things that you've learned and what you're doing now and how you really can inspire other people.
Yeah. So I'll start off. I'm just going to do like the 35,000 foot view. And
You
just kind
bet.
of keep a real quick thing. 12 years old, started smoking weed. 17, started shooting coke and heroin. 20, went to prison for the first time. 24, went to the prison for the last time. I was locked up for close to 5 years for a bunch of armed robberies. Had a bank robbery in Philadelphia and a bunch of robberies in the
Wow.
state of Maryland. And spent 4 years, 9 months in jail. Got out in 94. Since then, married my high school sweetheart. We've been together over
Oh,
25
wow.
years. Got a 22-year-old son that's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Were you guys connected, as you went through all that garbage, or did you reconnect?
We kind of reconnected, and I sent her a letter before I got out of jail, and just asked her how she's doing. Said I'm getting ready to get out, and she emailed me back or mailed me back, and
Yeah.
told me to don't write her anymore.
Oh, wow.
And I just I said, well, I'm going to send her one more letter. I'm going to tell her everything I always wanted to tell her and didn't have the balls to, just to get this off my chest, because I was carrying guilt over our high school relationship for years, just the way that I ended things. I just felt terrible about it. And so I sent her another letter, and a couple of weeks later, she responded and said, well, on second thoughts, we can write. And a couple of months later, she came up to see me, before I got out, and that was it.
It's the power of honesty and authenticity, right, brother?
Oh man, it was
just pouring out your heart.
Yeah, it was just getting over the fear. It's like, I figure I got nothing to lose. I'm never going to see her again. I've got this guilt for the way that I ended our relationship, and I just want to tell her the truth about why I ended it, because I knew I was going to jail and she was going to go to college. I knew I was a fucking loser.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to accomplish anything, and I couldn't pull her down with me. And so I broke up, and I just made up some bullshit, some bullshit reason about why I broke up with her. I said
that's pretty powerful, as someone that's going down the path you're going, to actually have the character to care about that,
Well,
that says a lot about you.
I mean, it was I was never a bad guy,
right? We just good people make bad decisions.
Yeah, I did a lot of bad shit, and I mean, let me back up, because I want to just talk a little bit about. So after I got out of jail, like today, I've been out. It's 94. Been out. What, I don't know. I can't do the math, man. 26, 27 years, something like that. Having an amazing life, man. I got a fantastic business. I own a bunch of real estate. Before that, I was in computers. When I first got out of jail, I was making $6 an hour working in a factory. So I just kind of worked my way up, but I stayed, just did the right thing. I didn't do AA, do NA. I tried that. I'd been kicked out of half the rehabs I was in. I was living in the streets. I mean, I'd been through like my share of shit. And, but what happened, the thing, and it's funny because, so I got locked up September of 89 ran a red light in a stolen car. Go figure. That's stupid as shit.
Wow.
Just robbed the store, went and bought some drugs. On the way back to a motel with a girl I hang out with to get high, ran a light. Just couldn't wait. I got a bag of coke. I'm like, man, I gotta go.
That's right.
And that was the priority. Jeez. And so, that cop, he saved my life. I mean, because I was at that time, for the previous month, I was doing robberies every day. Like every single day, I was going to the store and robbing the store. Yeah, every day. And so it was just like a matter of time before I either got shot or OD'd. I mean, there was people I would do like coke or heroin, and people would like leave the house. They thought I was going to OD because I was doing so much, and they just literally got up and left. And so that when the cop locked me up, he saved my life. And I want to mention this before I forget. That cop and I are actually friends today.
That is so cool. That is so cool.
I got his number on my phone, and I talked to him a few months ago. I called him up, and about 10 years ago, I found him on Facebook. And I sent him a message, and I said, just curious, were you ever a cop in Baltimore City Eastern District? And of course, he didn't respond. He was probably like, oh, fuck,
he was trying to, what's going on here?
And then a couple of weeks later, I sent him another message and said, listen, man, my name's Mark Owens. You locked me up September 89. And I just want to let you know that you saved my life. And I
Jeez.
really, really, not only do I appreciate that, but I just want to let you know that I'm really sorry for all the shit that I did. Like, I wasn't raised like that. That's not, it's
Yep.
like, I knew better. I was wrong. I fucked up. And I'm really have a lot of guilt over that. I just want to let you know that. And he emailed me back. And once he got that, he knew like I wasn't
Oh
some
yeah.
stalker. And
They probably, probably really appreciated that.
oh, he
It's
did. He
pretty cool.
did.
Yeah.
He got a commendation when he locked me up, which is like an award from the
Uh-huh.
police department for arresting me. And he says he still has a box of all the stuff in his house from like that arrest, like records and stuff, because it was kind of like a trophy
Wow.
for him, because I was hardcore knucklehead, at least on paper. And so yeah, we're friends. I mean, I just talked to him a few months ago, and we met for a few hours shortly after that in a parking lot in Florida, of all places.
Wow.
And we can, I mean, like, if he needed me today, like if he had
Yeah.
a flat tire, 2 hours from my house, like I would stop everything and go help him.
That's cool.
And but I want to tell you that this is the story, and this is the part, and just the past years I started to come out with this because I hid this stuff from most of my friends. Like in my work environment, I'm fairly well known in the Baltimore area in the real estate investing world.
Uh-huh.
And I kept this stuff a secret for years and years and years, except for like some close friends. Like I didn't want this out there because I didn't
Yeah.
want to be judged on stuff that I did back in the 80s.
Right.
And people do that. And my reputation is such, it's so good, and I value it so much. I didn't want to have that tarnished by shit I did when I was young.
Yep.
And I started coming out with this because what happened was I realized, like, I've done a lot of speaking in a different, like, real estate investor meetings and stuff like that, just telling people how I did what I did and
Yeah.
all that. And then I realized, like, man, like, this real estate investing this is part 2 of the story. Anybody can, follow this formula, buy a house, rent it out, make money.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that. The part 1 is this story we're talking about. And I've always thought, like, this story is more important than
Amen.
part 2.
Amen.
And so, like, all my friends are like, man, you should write a book. You should do this. You should do this. And I started, like, doing a couple podcasts about it. And I've done some speaking stuff. I joined the National Speakers Association. I want to put together a business where I can I don't even need to make money. I mean, I just want to get to prisons and jails and
Amen.
rehabs and high schools and just explain to people that there is a way out of this shit.
I think there's going to be it's already a problem. There's a lot of opportunity, but there's going to be a lot more coming with what's happening in the world.
If like from this podcast, I mean, like, you might save somebody's life,
Amen.
You have guests on there and people hear, like, man, I never really looked at it like that. I never thought of it like that. And it could change people's lives. And that's my goal. It's like,
same here.
And I'm sure.
I don't care how much money we make. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I enjoy the lifestyle I have, and I enjoy what money can do. But no matter how much I make, I never have the same feeling as when you can really help someone and impact their life.
No, I agree.
And that pays you more than any amount of money ever will.
Yeah, I've got enough money. I mean, it's like I live very well, and I work literally 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And, so I got a lot of free time, and I want to spend it, like this, like just trying to reach out. So I want to back up a little bit. I know the story's kind of disjointed, but it's just
it's great
coming out. So the cop locks me up on I still remember the dates. It's funny. October 2nd, 1989, I attempted to escape from the Baltimore County Detention Center.
Oh, gosh.
And thank God I did, man. I mean, it was like literally 10 minutes from getting out. I was managed to break a piece of steel off of a bunk bed, which was about 4 feet long. And in my cell, they had this real heavy duty, like, mesh screen that you could kick it, punch it. You wouldn't put a hole in it. Well, I got that off the window. And then behind that, there was this cast iron, like a diamond shaped grid, kind of like that over the windows. And I got a hole in that big enough to get out of. And then the only thing between now me and the street, which was like 15 feet down, was a piece of plexiglass, which was about a ½ inch thick. So I got the steel bar in there and I'm prying it. You see it like bending out. And apparently there was a cop down beneath me in the street that saw it. And he ran in and alerted.
Wow.
Me. Ended up getting caught. And I'm thank God now, because, like,
oh yeah,
at the time I was like, man, I ain't done,
Yeah.
like I got some shit I want to do. And so that's, so I ended up going to the lockup for 6 months, which for those of you that aren't familiar with what that means, it means you're locked in a cell by yourself for 23 hours a day. And you get out for one to walk around the tier by yourself and take a shower if you want to.
Basically,
And
just, yep.
so the cop saved my life when he locked me up, but then something else happened when I was on lockup. I went to see my attorney. I had robberies in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Harford County, Carroll County, the federal thing in Philly. I had another robbery in the state of Pennsylvania. I had, stolen cars. I had a lot of shit going on. And and he looks at me. He's sitting across the table and he looks at me and he says, "Man, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, can't you even stay out of trouble in jail? You're already locked up.
Right.
Don't you realize that if you play your cards right, you can be home by the time you're 30 years old. You'll be young enough to start a whole new life." And that kind of hit me. I'm getting tingles right now. I got back to my cell, and of course I felt real stupid when he's putting it like that. Like, yeah, I guess I am, I can't stay out of trouble. I felt like an idiot. And I got back to my cell, and over the next couple of days, and it was just like, man, I could start a whole new life. Like, it's not over. And what he did was he gave me hope when I didn't have any hope. Like, if I would have, I'm not a violent guy, but if an act of violence would have got me out the door of jail, and that's nothing was off the table.
Right.
Nothing was off the table. Because I was still in that mindset, that devil voice inside of us that
absolutely,
kind of, it's like takes control of you, like Jekyll and Hyde, and has you do shit that you shouldn't be doing, and you really don't even want to do it, and you feel horrible that you are doing it, and then you do it anyway. And I actually called that attorney a few days ago. I haven't talked to him since 1990.
Really?
And I wanted to tell him that story and just say, man, like you made a difference in my life. Like he may have saved my life, like in another way where he gave me hope where I didn't have any hope at all.
Yeah.
He was, he's been practicing law for 45 years and he probably hasn't gotten a lot of phone calls like that.
Exactly.
He was really happy that I called and that, that I was able to share some good news with him.
Absolutely.
And, so that was the second thing that happened, was this guy, he gave me hope. And then I'm sitting there, I'm in my cell for a few more months. I'm like, all right, well, what the fuck are you gonna do? You've been to rehabs, you've been to detoxes, you've like moved to different states, you tried different girlfriends, like you've done like different churches, you tried, I don't want to name any of them, but you've I've gone to different kind of religions, things, and just thinking like, man, there's got to be something, like there's something I'm missing, but I know there's a way to do this. I know there's a way out. And at the time, the girl that I got locked up with, she got sober. She actually started dating the guy that was the first guy I ever shot cocaine with. And
oh, wow.
He got clean, and he got out of rehab, and he got like 60 or 90 days clean, and then she got clean. And I'm starting to see like people like, man, you can do this.
Can do it.
Yeah, it's possible. And then it was maybe 3 or 4 months later, I got off a lockup, and I was on the tier, and there was a book laying on one of the tables, and I went over and just picked it up. I got plenty of time to read. I got nothing to do.
Yeah.
And the book was called "You Can If You Think You Can" by Norman Vincent Peale, who he wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, which was a more famous book. Now, at the time, I had never heard of Norman Vincent Peale. That's the first self-help book I'd ever held in my life. Like I guess at the time, I didn't even know that there were people that went out and bought books about fixing themselves. I had no idea.
Right.
But I looked at it, I was like, you can if you think you can. I thought, well, I like the message. It sounds good.
Yeah.
You can read it. Halfway through that book, something switched in my head. Something switched. And at the time I smoked cigarettes, back then in 1990, you could actually smoke cigarettes
in jail.
Yeah. And, I was like, I had I think a carton under my bed, and I got a half a pack of Newports in my pocket. And I looked at a friend of mine, his jail friend, Frank, and I said, Frank, man, take these fucking cigarettes. I'm done. I fucking quit. And that was it. And
Wow.
it was like, I wanted to prove to myself, like, I can do this if I think I can, and I think I can. In fact, I fucking know I can, and I'm done. And I
There you
was just like
go.
on fire, man. I was just like, I made that decision. And it was the weirdest thing that ever happened. Like up until that point, when, if I get into AA or NA, whatever it was, I'm like, okay, I got like a day. It's like, man, I really want to fucking, I'm not going to do it, man. I'll just wait till tomorrow. Just for the
Yeah.
day. I'm not going to do shit. Sometimes it's 1 minute at a time, right?
Amen.
When I wait till 6, and then at 6, I wait till 7, and just like, just try to get through
So
that.
true. Yep.
And what happened for me was once I made that decision, like that thought, like it was like that, it was gone. And I have not had the desire to drink or do coke or heroin or mushrooms or acid or anything.
Anything. Yeah.
It's that moment. I mean, once I believed in myself, and that was, for me, that was a big deal, because up until that point,
That's a huge deal, especially sitting in jail when you do have all that free time with cigarettes. I mean, all times to quit. That's a very tough time. But the most powerful thing is, like you said, once that mind, when you really go all in and make a decision, that's the key.
right.
So many times we go 99%, and
I was there, man. I was there.
And you obviously turn that switch because that's powerful as hell.
So here's one of the things that I did, and what I'm going to say, this book doesn't have anything to do with being a drug addict. You could just have low self-esteem,
right?
Or whatever, or maybe you had a rough start, your family's fucked up. Like there's a whole lot of
we all have it. Yeah, we all have stuff.
And so what I did was I sat down and I thought, I was thinking about my past. And I was like, it's like, it's going to be hard to build up a whole new life when my foundation is made out of like shit and mud and straws. Like I need a strong foundation. And what I thought was, well, when I look at myself and I say, who are you? All that I think of is bad shit.
Yeah.
Lie to my family, steal from my friends, steal from my family, cheat on girlfriends, steal from people that I don't know, break into their houses, rob their stores, and I just felt like that's why I kicked out of high school, couldn't hold down any job for more than a couple of months. I mean, it was just like, so that's who I saw myself was just a fucking loser, like just somebody that's like, man, bad news and just can't do anything right and fucking up everything in his life.
I think that you're probably, I think most human beings, for whatever reason, that's what we tend to look at, this negative instead of the good things about Mark.
So what happened was, I'm sitting in my cell and I'm thinking, well, what are you going to do? Like when I'm sober, like, when I get out in 5 or 10 or 15 years, like, what do you do? Like, cause I don't know what sober people do. I just know I get high, drink, and chase girls. Like that's what I fucking do. And if I ain't got any money to get high, I'll go get it, whatever it takes. But now if I'm not doing that, then what am I going to do? And I'm like, well, I started smoking weed when I was 12. And I thought, well, who were you when you were 11 years old? Like what kind of person were you when you were 11? Before the drugs, before the alcohol, before that lifestyle. And I thought, man, when I was 11, I was a good kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I had newspaper routes. I used to cut grass in the neighborhood. If it snowed, there was like money falling out of the sky. I'd be banging on every door on the street, to get a shovel to walk. And, I was nice to people. I was very respectful. That's something a lot of young people today don't really know a whole lot about. Yeah. I was very respectful, people, whether I knew them or not, it didn't matter. I grew up in a time where total strangers would yell at you if you were acting up.
Yeah.
And so, so I started thinking, well, that's the kind of person I really am. Like that 11-year-old kid, like that's who I am. Not this drug addict. That's not me. That's anybody under the influence of coke or heroin. Like that's not who I am on the inside. I'm that kid.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write down all the good things I can think of that I ever done.
That's powerful.
Wasn't a big list.
Still,
but
one or two things makes a difference. Just focusing there.
The top of the list was I quit smoking cigarettes. Getting myself credit.
Yep.
And then it was stuff like, I had newspaper routes, there were times where I did stuff like, saw some lady in the parking lot. I didn't know her. She had a flat tire, changed her flat tire for her. Like just, small things, but it was like, but that shows the kind
small
of
things matter, man. Yeah.
And so I just put that list together and I said, that's who you are. That's what you need to focus on. You can't focus on the negative past stuff. You got to focus on this good person that you really are. And it made such a difference to me because, I quit smoking. So I had confidence. Like I had confidence that I hadn't had like probably since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I was focusing on the good things that I was. And I thought to myself, you got to do this time. Like you have no choice. Like you're here. But I didn't have to look at it like I'm in prison. I'm going to look at this like I'm in rehab. And I'm going to take this time to do the best I can to improve myself and fix myself. So when I get out, I'm in the best possible position to have a decent life.
That's great. So I apologize. I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to just ask you a question because
Sure.
the answer, maybe, I don't know, may help somebody, that's listening to see something maybe they're not seeing. I always say that, we can't see what we don't see, and perspective creates possibilities. So can you pinpoint or think of anything, from that 11-year-old kid to that 12-year-old kid that started smoking weed? Can you look at anything and contribute what happened?
Definitely.
I have a feeling that, that will help people maybe see something.
For me, what it was at the time that I was born in 1965. Things are a little different today, but in 1965, my mother had me. She was 17 years old. She married the guy who was like a junkie in and out of jail and all that shit. And I didn't meet him till I was 17. They got divorced when I was like 3 months old or something. So I got a single mother. Then she got married again when I was like, I don't know, 2 or 3. And a few years later, got divorced again. And then my stepfather that I still have, she married him, I guess, when I was like maybe 10 or 11. But there was a big gap in there where I didn't have like a father, like a real father. Like I had a stepfather, but he wasn't mine. And I didn't like fit in because all my other kids had a father. Like all my friends had a father.
And, especially back then, divorce wasn't near as common as it is today.
Oh no, it was people, and I'm not saying that that's better or worse, but that's just the way it was.
Right. Amen.
And so when my friends say, yeah, me and my dad are going fishing tomorrow, me and my dad are going to the baseball game, I'm like, well, I don't have a dad.
Yep.
And my mom ain't taking me fishing. My mom works in a factory, so that wasn't going to happen. So it was really not feeling like I fit in, like I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a blue collar, slightly lower middle class area of Baltimore City, where for most of the guys in my neighborhood, like their dream job was if you can get a job driving a forklift in a factory, you are set. Like that was their ceiling. Like, man, just get a job like in a factory driving a forklift, like, man, you'll make, good, that they considered good money.
Right.
And I'm sitting there like, man, is that my life? Like I'm gonna like work in a factory? Like, is that the ceiling? Because I knew then, like, I'm kind of smart, it's like, is that all I'm fucking good for?
Yeah.
But I didn't, but my friends, like, if I told them, I'm really interested in biochemistry, I think I want to
yeah.
They'd have been like, what? Like, they'd have been looking at me like, are you stoned? It's like, so I didn't really fit in. I wasn't sports. I wasn't that good, partly because I didn't have a father, growing up.
Right.
We had to swing the bat the right way and how to throw the ball the right way. And so I really wasn't fitting in any of those areas. And I also, in school, I was smart. At least the teachers were always telling me I was. But I was only like living up to 60% of my academic potential because I thought the shit was boring. And, it was like the ADD stuff before anybody ever heard of ADD. They just knew the hyperactive part. And
exactly.
I wasn't hyperactive, but I couldn't pay attention to anything.
Me neither.
And so I wasn't really fitting in anywhere. And, we'd had drug education in like the 5th grade, and they scare the shit out of you. Like a cop comes in and they show you the junkies and all this. I'm like, man, I would never do that. That looks terrible. First chance I had to smoke weed, one of my friends said, hey, Mark, you want to go in the woods and get high? I'm like, huh? I didn't even know they did drugs. And they're like, yeah, we got some weed from my parents or something, because half my friend's parents got high. And I was like, man, this is my chance. Like, I can fit in. And I did it. And And I found out like I was really good at getting high. You know?
You're professional.
Yeah. I wasn't good in sports. I wasn't good in school. You know, it's like none of that stuff. You know, but it's like, man, when it comes to like, you know, smoking weed and drinking and shit, like I think I found my thing. Like this is it. And it was
Crazy.
also around the same age that I found out that you know, you start liking girls, and it's like,
Yeah.
at least me. And I was like, oh man, this is like, I think that's a thing I'm interested in too. So then it was just like the, you know, drink, get high, hang out with girls, and just like, and then it escalates. It's like you get comfortable with weed, where it's like, man, this is just weed. It's not, and then it's hash, and then it's like, hey, you want to try some speed, and then it's speed, and then it's like, hey, you want to have a Quaalude with your beer, and then you eat some ludes or Valiums or, you know, Placidils or, you know, whatever
Yeah.
you know, stuff is. And then it's like, hey man, acid, sure. Want to huff paint? Sure. Mushroom, yeah. And then it was like 17 years old. And at the time I was like afraid of needles. Like I, you know, like if I went
Yeah.
there, I'm gonna close my eyes and gritting my teeth and turning my head, like didn't like them at all. And got kicked out of high school, hanging out, just, you know, doing whatever now. And I was in a friend's house. I moved back. It's a long story. I moved back to the city. I was in the county for a few years, moved back to the city. I was 17 years old, and a friend of mine's older brother was in his bedroom shooting coke. And I saw it, and I was like, man, what the fuck's he doing? And he said, he's coke. I was like, I looked at his brother, and I said, what, man, how much is that? And he said, $25. I'm like, I got $25. And he had enough. I bought a quarter gram from him, and he hit me up twice. And that was it. I think
And you're off to the races.
I went out that night and started doing some burglaries to get money for that. And then a couple months later, I found out that another friend of his was shooting heroin, and I called him up. I was like, man, I want to try that. And then it was just like,
Damn.
that was it, you know.
Lucky to be alive just like me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you
No doubt
make all
about
these
it.
stupid decisions, and at the time they seemed like they're good ideas. You know, like, yeah, I'll just, you know, because you say to yourself, you know, I would never be a junkie. Like if it got that bad, I would just quit. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, because you really believe that, because, you know, when you're younger, you think you're going to live forever and you're bulletproof and all this shit, you know, and it's not really like that. You know,
Yeah,
gravity,
not at all.
gravity affects us all. You know, it's like gravity, jump off a building, you're going to hit the ground. I don't
Yep.
care how smart you are, how pretty you are, it doesn't matter. Gravity affects us all the same way. And so does that addiction stuff. You know, I don't care if you
Absolutely.
don't have the addiction gene. If you shoot heroin every day for 10 days in a row, you're going to be an addict.
No doubt about it.
You know,
No doubt about it. Because you're not gonna, even if, you're not gonna want to come off of that at that point. So you just gotta use it to function at that point, you know.
Yeah.
So fast forward, you get out of jail, and then how do you progress to end up where you're at with the success that you're having?
Yeah, it was, when I first got out, it was scary. I ended up doing 4 years and 9 months. I had a 10-year, 9-month sentence they were all concurrent.
Wow.
I had a bunch of concurrent sentences
Uh-huh.
with different starting dates. It ended up getting out after 4 years and 9 months, got with my current wife. And at the time I was making $6 an hour working in a factory. And I actually got the job before I got out of jail. It was, I worked for, it's kind of like minimum security, and you get these jobs working for the state. Like, you know, you can get on the road crew out picking up trash, stuff like that. And I got a job where I was on a truck, and we would go to like these different state office buildings, like pick up furniture and take it somewhere else. One of the places we went was a factory that actually made the furniture, or made a part of the furniture. And I'd been there a couple of times, and I've mentioned to the owner, I was like, listen, man, I'm going to be coming home in a couple of months. I'm going to need a job. You know where I'm at. Like, would you consider hiring me? And he said, man, come back and see me. Come see me when you get out. And I went the day after I got out. I went and saw him, and he gave me a job.
That's cool.
It was. I mean, I was really grateful for it. You know, that I came out. I actually had a bank account too. This is a different story, but I actually opened a bank account when I was in prison and got a loan from the bank while I was in prison.
Really?
Start building up my credit. Yeah, so
that's cool.
So I got out of jail, and I got a bank account, and I got a job.
How old were you at this point?
20. I was 29.
Okay.
29. And my parents lent me money to buy a car. They actually bought me a car. I didn't have to pay them back. I thought I was, but later on, they told me I didn't have to. They bought me a little Honda Civic, used Honda Civic, with holes in the seats and everything.
I got a Toyota Corolla.
But it was great. It got me around, man. And
Tell you what, I was grateful to have that for sure.
Was I? And so here's the part, like when you get out of jail, at least, this was my experience. And we go to like family events, like my girlfriend's family has, it could be Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever. And then I go, right?
Yeah.
And we all know, it's like prison. And in fact, her parents were like trying to talk her out of even seeing me.
Hanging with you. Yeah.
And so like I show up and like, here I am, here's the jailbird on parole, working in a factory for $6 an hour. And other people that were our age, they got kids, they got families, they got careers, they own a house. I mean, like they're like doing well. They're doing like what normal people do, which I couldn't relate to. I mean, I'm trying, but it was like, so it felt really awkward, like being in their company, because I'm comparing myself. Like, that guy's got
they're judging us. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a great job. He's making money. He's got beautiful kids, a beautiful wife, a nice house, a nice car. Like I got like $500 in the bank. I make $6 an hour and I'm a fucking on parole. And I'm comparing myself. And then I thought, man, you just need to like step it up. Like you can catch up, but you need to step it up. You can't just, do what you're doing. You gotta do more. You gotta work overtime. You gotta work weekends. You gotta do whatever. And you gotta get out of this goddamn factory, because I don't, it was a stepping stone for me. Everybody else got a job. A few months later, I actually enrolled in University of Maryland, the Baltimore County campus, and majored in biochemistry and molecular biology. They had a 5-year program where you could get a bachelor's and a master's degree in those. And I already had 2 years. I got 2 years in prison. I got my 2-year degree in business. And so I switched over to the biochemistry thing, and I got a job working in a lab as a lab technician. And, I had grown up my whole life here, and we need math and science people in the United States. And what I quickly found out is that we don't. I was at that one job for like close to a year, and the boss comes in one day, and business wasn't going real well, and everyone was afraid, like there's rumors like, man, they're going to shut the place down, we don't have enough business. And he calls us all into the kitchen. There was like 25 of us, and we're like, oh fuck, like here goes. And he comes in and he says, listen, I know what everybody's saying, I know what the rumors are, but I just want everybody to know that your jobs are secure. You're not going anywhere. We're going to ride this out together. And then Friday, he came in and laid off a third of us, including me.
Wow.
And it was just like, man, it's like, that's how people get shot, right? I mean, it's like, I might have went out that night and, bought a car, put a down payment on my house. It's like,
yeah, no doubt.
And because you told me my job's secure, and then you cut me 2 days later. Not that I was violent, but I mean, that's,
right.
Violence happens, and that's the kind of shit that provokes people.
For sure.
And so I
kind of stuff that triggers somebody to go use,
Oh yeah.
Relapse.
Oh, absolutely.
Crazy
man.
stuff.
So I get another job and now I'm a consultant. I'm a temp as a lab technician at this big company. And I was there a few months, and it was like 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas. And they laid off like 130 people, like 2 weeks before Christmas, including all of the temps except for me. They kept me. And I mean, I'm watching guys that have been lab technicians for 20 years packing up their shit and leaving. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, oh fuck. And it's like, this shit ain't right. I see PhDs that are losing their jobs, and they got to move across the country to find another job. And I'm like, man, this is like, I got to figure something else out. And at the time, the computer stuff, this was like around 1997, 98, like the computer stuff was just going crazy.
Blowing up, yeah.
It was just, there were so many jobs out there. And I remember looking in the newspaper and just seeing like, 1 year experience, $90,000 a year. And I'm thinking like, damn, I mean, like, that's like, those guys aren't that bright. I'm not sitting here to set up the damn printer or whatever. Like, they're no smarter than I am. So I decided to change my major to computer science. And a friend of mine told me, he's like, man, don't waste your time with a computer science degree. You can get a 4-year degree. You won't even know how to hook up a printer. Says, get these computer certifications. That's what the employers are looking for. And so I started taking classes, and I got my at the time, most people probably never heard of this. I got my Microsoft certified systems engineer certification. I got AOS, which is computer repair. I got Net Plus. I got a Cisco CCNA certification. And I started working on a help desk. And this is one of these things where having a felony like comes back to kick you in the ass.
Amen.
So I got a job working at Legg Mason, and it's a financial services institution. And I'm working on their help desk. It's my first computer job I've ever had. I'm making $15 an hour. I'm happy. Like I'm like coming to work like dressed nice, and I got a big picture window overlooking Baltimore's beautiful inner harbor, and I'm like thinking like, man, I'm like,
yeah, you arrived.
And then 6 months later, my boss, Myrna, calls me into her office and she says, Mark, I'm excited to tell you this, but like Mason, we're very happy with everything you're doing. And, we want to offer you, full-time employment as a regular employee. And I looked at her and I said, Myrna, I said, man, that is awesome. But there's something I have to tell you. I have a felony. And she kind of sat back and she's like, really? I said, yeah. And she says, well, just hang on just a minute. And she picked up the phone and she called HR.
Oh, wow.
And I could see the look in her eyes, like she looked like she was going to cry.
Oh, I'll bet.
And then she hung up and she said, I am so sorry. And within 2 minutes, there was 2 security guys coming in her office to escort me to my desk to get my things, which probably consisted of like an ink pen and a coffee cup. And then to the elevator, down 25 stories, and then they walked me all the way out to the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's so messed up, but it's so true.
Yeah, I'm looking up, like, man, fuck, like 45 minutes ago, I was taking phone calls and was happy and like I was grateful, and now I'm in the goddamn street.
And, there's something wrong that follows us for life, and you just get treated a certain way just because of that,
But what happened was I just said, it's like, well, I've been through my share of shit. Like, this is nothing, man. A door just shut, another one's going to open.
Bingo.
And I found a better job, making more money. And, I stayed there, and I was a consultant or temp in all these jobs. So
yeah,
I would stay somewhere 6 months, go get another job, get a $2 or $3, $4 pay raise. And if anybody ever says, well, man, you've had like 4 jobs the last 2 years, I'm a consultant.
Yeah.
And that excuses all that shit. Like, all of a sudden now they don't care. And, I got a call from one of these companies that said, Mark, would you like to teach computer classes online? We'll pay you $35 an hour. And I said, man, sure. Like, I don't know how to do it, but I'll figure this shit out. And I started teaching online. And this is one of these funny things. So, and this is like the power of like just talking to people and networking.
It's the key to everything right there.
So I'm making $35 an hour. And there's another dude there making $100 an hour doing the same thing I'm doing.
Wow.
Gerald, what the fuck is wrong with you? How are you making $100 an hour and I'm making 35? And he says, real kind of smug, well, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm like, okay, so how do I do that? And he says, well, you need your MCSE. All right, I got that. And you need to take a trainer class. He said, it's a weekend class. A month later, I took the trainer class, sent in my fees and all that to Microsoft. And now I am a Microsoft certified trainer. Started applying for other jobs. And this is one of these, like, this was another moment that really made a difference for me. I got 2 job offers the same day. First job offer was teaching at a local computer school, like a training center. This was around 98, 99, somewhere in that range. And they wanted to pay me like $72,000 a year, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, like from 8 to 3, or it wasn't 9 to 5, it was like 8 to 3. And it was like 5 minutes from my house. And then the other job offer was I was going to be an independent contractor, which I liked because they probably weren't going to check my record. And they were going to pay me $6,000 per month to work 12 days. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, and then they said, and every day, if you work any days past that, we'll pay you $700 a day. And if you work at nights, we'll pay you $350 a night, because it's a half day class in the evening. And they were teaching at colleges all over the United States, but they had a bunch of them in the Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania area. So I picked that one. I was like, man, because I can make more money there. And so it was, it's the damnedest thing. Like, a month later, I was teaching computer certification classes in colleges.
What do you think the common denominator is? I have my opinion, obviously, to, how you're starting to see all this stuff happen,
Looking, man, not being satisfied. Just saying, like, I'm doing great. That guy's doing better. Let me talk to him and find out, like, man, how'd you do that? And then taking action.
Being willing to ask and then action. Yeah. An attitude. You obviously had the attitude
Yes.
that, because, you talked about, I just had a similar experience when you said, you get walked out, you're done at that place. Most people are going to start just pop into that victim stance.
Sure.
And poor me, rather than, I personally believe, and based on what you said, you have the same belief, like everything happens for a reason.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it seems like anytime something like that happens, it might not be tomorrow, but it's not too far off in the future that things are actually better. I went through that last week, and
Yeah, he told me. Yeah.
I could just sit there and said, poor me, but I instantly just said, damn, how many times am I going to have God smack me upside the head for me to pay attention?
That's the difference between winners and losers.
Yeah.
The winners, you might lose the game, but you're going to say, well, I'm in this for the long run. That was just one game. And the loser will be like, we lost, man. We're going to, and then you lose the next one because your attitude. It's like,
exactly. And you have to develop that. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that book in jail was a huge piece to start you down the path to become the man you became, and have that attitude.
I think it meant everything. I mean, it was like, it was for the first time since I was maybe ever in my whole life. Because when I was a kid, like before I started, doing drugs and all, like I never felt like I fit in. And I was just always felt like the oddball, I was kind of smart and just, like, and what that book just convinced me that I can do whatever I want. He convinced me on it. And after that, I was like, man, this is it. I got this shit. And it's like this, like, this is stuff like girls might not really get this, but some of them are. If two guys, if you're going to get in a fight with some guy, like you're going to get in a boxing ring, and it could be like a really tough, badass dude. Yeah. If you get in there and your thoughts are, man, this guy's going to fuck me up, man. I hope he doesn't hit me in the face. I'm going to get my ass kicked. You already lost. Like you're done.
Absolutely.
If on the other side, if you're sitting out there and you're like, man, this guy's mother doesn't know who the fuck he is. I'm gonna fuck his face up so bad. He's gonna beg me to fucking stop. And you go in there like with that attitude, you still might get your ass kicked. But chance of winning is incredibly more than if you go in there and thinking you're gonna lose and you haven't even thrown a punch yet. It's like you gotta have that attitude, man. And that book gave me the attitude. It gave me the confidence in myself. All the tools. And this is like the way that I kind of figured it out. It was like up until that point, I had been looking on the outside for all the answers. Hey, NA, church, different girlfriend. I moved to a different state. I'll do this. I'll do that. And the answers were on the inside.
Amen.
The whole time.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I had that mirror, I'm like, all right, motherfucker, you got this. You can do this. Why can't you? You can do this. Other people are doing it. Nothing's stopping you. It made all the difference in the world.
And it all comes down to mindset, which, we could work on that because that's an inside job. And, as you talked about earlier, I think a huge key that we all often forget about is, the confidence is a huge piece. That held me back, I hate to admit it, but for 8 years after I got out of prison, I've only been out next month for 12, because I allowed myself to stay stuck.
Right.
And until I started working on that and then started doing what you said, was so important to me, was starting to write down those good things. Or those daily little wins.
Did you do that?
Oh, absolutely. That's what made the shift for me.
That's incredible.
Because then I could start to see that I was actually doing positive things instead of just looking at, oh man, instead of comparing where I should be.
It is
just because I had been there before, or others are there now, and all that. That's the dumbest thing we can do is compare ourselves to other people.
That's the thief of joy. I heard someone say recently, comparing yourself.
Oh, that's great. Thief of joy.
Yep. Because it's always easy to look at somebody else and say, well, they're better looking, they make more money, they got more friends, they're taller than me, they're skinny, they're fit. It's like it's easy to beat yourself up. But as you're doing that, there's somebody looking at you thinking the same thing.
Exactly. Yep.
It's like, man, I know that there are in Maryland, there are 15,000 guys that would kill to be in your position right now. And they're all in
Amen.
jail. They're all in
That's
jail.
one of the most powerful things that happened to me when I was in prison was I got a letter from a friend of my mom's. I'd never met her, and I didn't meet her for about 7 years after I got out. But she wrote me a letter. She wrote me at least a letter a month, sent me several books. She sent me a book that I'll never forget. It says, "Thoughts are just things," you know, because we we grab onto thoughts, which then we just take
Oh,
off
yeah.
and create stories that just make
Yep.
it worse. But in that letter, she said, I'll never know what it's like to be there, Steve. And so I'm not going to even try to act like I do. But she said, I promise you, if you'll go to bed each night and focus on 3 things that day that you have to be grateful for, I really believe that'll help you. And that changed everything, because you can't be depressed, sad, angry, can't be any of those negative emotions if you focus on gratitude.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
You're not going to get anywhere. All that you do is focusing on the negative stuff. You're not going
Yeah. The only thing you're gonna do is continue to get negative. It's like you said earlier, you believed it. Well, if you don't believe it, you can't achieve it.
That's true. That's
But if you
100%.
do,
Yep.
we can do anything that we believe we can.
We can, and it's there are things that we can do to position ourselves to make it easier for us.
Yep.
And the things that, like, when I talk to real estate people, like, my top thing, I'm not talking about the gurus you're talking about. I'm talking about your network. The more people that know you, the more opportunities are going to come your way. And if you have a fantastic reputation,
Yep.
you got a good reputation. I don't care what you did 100 years ago. What'd you do
Yep.
yesterday? How do you treat people today? Are you kind to people? Are you respectful? Like, that shit is if you're, put it this way, if you're an asshole and you know 1,000 people, you got 1,000 people that think you're an asshole. They don't want to work with you. They think you're a bad dude. If you are the greatest guy in the world, but you don't know anybody, well, nobody's just going to come, knock on your door and pull you out of the basement and say, "Hey, listen, I heard you're a great guy. Let's have business." But if you're like a great guy and you know 1,000 people and they know you're a great guy, then this gives you 2 things. One is it gives you the ability to give back and help those 1,000 people. But it also, you get this leverage thing where now you get 1,000 people that can help you.
And how many people are those 1,000 people? And now you got a network of 1 billion people. It's
huge. And that's why when I was speaking at these real estate events, I didn't get paid. But what I did was I built up a huge network. I've got a Facebook group now with 15,000 people on it. And
that's huge.
And I've got a great reputation. I mean, I hear all the time where somebody says, "Man, I was out at lunch the other day and some guy asked if I, said he knew you." And, it's like, because they, name dropping. And, Baltimore's a small town. There's, I don't know, 500,000 people, but it still feels good for me to know that there are people that I don't even know that are speaking highly of me, just based on my reputation. Like, nobody would have saw that coming 30 years ago.
Yeah. And, you can continue to hold on to that negative, or you can start over, and focus on what you can control. It's, the network, like you said, that's everything. When I was younger, my dad had a full service car wash. He was a dentist, and absentee ownership was killing him. And I dropped out of college because I caught the general manager stealing. And I'm at 19. I don't know squat as far as accounts receivable, payables, how to run things. I was intimidated as hell because there's older people working there, and I'm the owner's son. So I'm concerned about that. But I'll tell you, the one thing that did, once I kind of got in and figured some things out and got a mentor, was back in 1990. And in Utah County, where I'm at, it was the very first full service car wash. And so, at that point, you're dealing with your customers, middle class people, nonstop, and upper class. And the network of people I met through there by being there, I really attribute that to a huge part of my success because of the relationships I built.
I agree with you. And it's not just the relationships that we build, but it's the confidence to build new ones. Because what happens is, like, if I moved today, if I said, I moved to Philly, I could start another network. Like, I have the confidence in myself to do it, which I couldn't have even dreamed of that, when I first got out of jail, that I would be anywhere near where I'm at today. But it's steady, deliberate work, looking for opportunities, taking advantage of them when you get them, being nice to people. I don't do the 12 steps. I do my own steps, which there's a lot of overlap, like, calling people up and apologizing for shit that I did that I feel terrible about, and also calling people up and thanking them years later. And so, when those opportunities come up, I take advantage of. And there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Was it about the networking stuff? It'll come to my mind, but it was another piece of this puzzle.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, doing those things, I'm a big believer in karma, whatever you want to call it, energy, whatever. It just, you do the right things, you treat people right, like you've hit on many times, focus on others first.
It comes back.
You just can't help but have it come back. It's just the way it works. It's a universal law, whether I understand it or not. I'm not going to profess to, but it's just manifest too many times in my life and so many others.
Yeah, I agree. And I see it not just with myself, but with others.
Yeah.
It's one of these things like, the law of attraction, or, synchronicity, which I'm very keen of, is, if you might not notice how many Jeeps there are till you go buy a Jeep. And then you're like, things like people are waiting all over the damn place. It's like, because it was never on your front burner. And then once it's on there, you start to see it. Opportunities.
Great example.
Like if you are just thinking like, there's no opportunities for me, I'm just a loser, I'm a felon, I can't do shit. Like, you're right. There's no opportunities for you.
Yep.
But if you go out with the same background saying, man, I'm high energy, energetic, I'm a decent fucking guy, I'm motivated, I'm a fast learner, and I'm like really treat people good, and there's a whole world of opportunity out there, and I'm going to go find it. That's how you do it. I mean, it's like, that's how shit happens. And I didn't get where I'm at today, which is doing pretty well, just hiding in the basement saying, I'm a loser, I'm a felon. It's just like, man, fuck this, man. There's a lot of wealth out there, a lot of freedom, and I'm going to go get mine the right way. The right way. And today, everybody that may have been leery of me 30 years ago, like in my wife's family, now they all respect me. They know
exactly.
I've been a great father. I've been a good husband. I've been, like I did everything that I should have did, and I caught up because I was behind.
Yeah. Well, you caught up and passed a lot of people.
Passed a lot of people. Yeah. And then that brings its own can of worms, because then people start getting resentful. Like, that son of a bitch, I got to work 40 hours a week, and he's like in the Cayman Islands.
It's crazy how that happens, and I've been guilty of that in my life. So I'm not going to say I haven't, but I'll tell you what, it changes a lot when you start cheering other people on and be happy for people's success. That's a huge thing.
I remember what I wanted to say. So this is like I thought of it when you were mentioning the lady that sent you the letter telling you to think of 3 things before you go to bed, which I think that's really, really, really good advice. What I realized was that, like, if stuff's going bad, like it could happen today. I could get in a car accident. I mean, something, bad things happen.
Yeah.
And at the worst, I think to myself, this is kind of weird, but I think there's going to come a day in my life where I will give anything to come back to this moment. As fucked up as this moment is, when I'm 83 years old in a nursing home and I'm about to die, I would give anything to come back to this fucked up situation. So as fucked up it is, just be grateful that you're here, man, because you're not going to be here forever. And
so
there's going to come a time where you're going to wish you were here. And so just for me, it's like, when shit goes sideways, and it happens, whether it's business or family stuff, my wife and I get in an argument over something stupid. Yeah. Just kind of put things into perspective and say, you know what, man, I'm going to fix this shit. Even if I don't think I'm wrong, I'm going to go apologize just to get past this shit. Because life is short, man. Life is short. And I don't want to get to bed angry or hurt or pissed off or anything. I want to get shit resolved. And that, I think, just when I started to realize that, like, I don't let things bother me as much. Yeah. I get a speeding ticket, they could ruin your day. I'm like, man, there's going to come a day where I'm going to wish I got a speeding ticket. It's like, that stuff doesn't bother me. Attitude, like you said, and you can always, no matter how bad it is, if you just focus and think, there's a billion other people out there have a lot worse than I do. Oh, man, even in the moment I'm in. I am
You
Mr.
know,
Silver Lining. Like no matter.
dude, I can tell it's, yeah, you're,
Yeah,
I love
I don't
that.
want to. I
Yeah.
don't want to like talk about any like really horrible things. But even under the most horrible circumstances, it could have been worse.
Yeah. No doubt.
Just
No
be
doubt.
grateful that it wasn't. It's like because there's just it's a cold, cruel world, and shit happens. But it's the way we. It's what we.
It's
It's the
how
way
you
we.
respond to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's everything that we. The way we. The choices we make every day. It's like, you know, people. There are a lot of people in this country that are blaming stuff that happened before they were even born for where they're at today.
Yeah.
And those things happen. And terrible stuff happened. There's no
Oh, no
doubt.
doubt. No doubt about
Okay,
it.
so how's that going to stop you from applying for a job or showing up on time and doing your job when you're there? Like, because those are the things that are going to lead you to success.
Yep.
Sitting around and complaining about it isn't going to change anything. It's just
Yeah.
going to make people not even want to be around you except other miserable people.
Yeah. Those things can't stop you unless you let it. It's a choice.
Every day.
You chose to make the choices that change your life, and obviously have you in a position where you're happy, you have a great family, it sounds like, great life, and you could have made what you chose to do in jail was the beginning of a new beginning and a new life.
I made a lot of good choices in jail. I was actually happy in prison.
Yeah.
I'm not much happier now than I was then. And it sounds kind of crazy, but the reason why is because, man, like I got nowhere to go but up. I'm at the fucking bottom. I'm in prison. It's like it's got to get better than this.
Yeah.
And so I was excited because I knew that, man, I got my whole life ahead of me. When I was in prison, I quit smoking cigarettes, and part of it was I'm thinking like, all right, I might do 5 or 10 years, but if I quit smoking, I might add 5 or 10 years to my life.
So just all attitude. It's all dude, that's so powerful.
It's gonna help to make up for this time I'm missing. But while I'm here, I'm not gonna waste it. I'm not just gonna sit out in a rec room playing spades and watching some shit TV, man. I'm gonna be sitting in my cell reading books and studying and doing the introspection thing. Like, how did things fuck up? How was I feeling? What was that feeling that had me make this decision? I need to look at that feeling a different way so that it doesn't lead to the same decisions.
Yeah.
And writing
That's
stuff.
Powerful.
Yeah. It was just
powerful stuff.
So I got my 2-year college degree. It was, and you've been there, you've been in prison. It's like the prison colleges, it's the same professors coming in. It's the same book, same test. The reason that a lot of us do so well is because we don't have the distraction.
Oh, you have to focus on. Exactly.
Yeah. It's like,
exactly.
I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a job to go to. I don't have a birthday party this weekend. Like, I'm just like, I got nothing to do. I might as well read this book. I don't feel like sitting at the rec hall. I mean, that's where, there were people in the prison I was in, there were people that were stabbed just about every day.
Oh yeah.
I never saw it. I'm not there, man. I'm not part of that crowd. I'm just like, I'm doing my own thing, staying in my own lane. I'm not hanging out at the weight rack out in the yard. Like, man, that's like where the trouble's at, man.
I remember when I was checking out to get out, the same female CO that checked me out. And I honestly maybe saw her a couple times. I was in Colorado, and the SEALs that were over the ADX were over the camp. Mm-hmm. And when I was checking out, she just said, "Damn, Cloward, it seems like you just got here. She's way to just do your time and stay under the radar." I'm like, well, what else? I mean, to me, that's like normal. Obviously, that's not the norm necessarily, but to me, it's like, there's nothing else I would have done. I mean, I'm not here to raise hell or cause a problem. I'm just here to get out of here.
That's it, man.
Do my thing. And so
it just, for maybe for you too, what it did was it gave me a chance to just slow the fuck down.
Oh, dude.
it's like, and really take the time to think about shit. Because on the street, I wouldn't slow it down. It's like, I'm out of money. Gonna wait 3 days. Okay, I'm gonna sleep for 3 hours, and we go up and go steal another car, rob another store. It's like that. Yeah. It's like
the craziest thing that happened to me, at least, after I got over I was pretty bummed out and down for the first couple of months, because all of a sudden I'm put in a situation that I can't control, and I've always been able to just focus on problems, solutions. I'm a solutions guy. And all of a sudden now I can't. But then it finally shifted, and I realized, well, I can control what I think, and so once I got to that point and realized that I couldn't do anything to help my family, which was a bitter pill to swallow, but just the difference in, like, I've never been a guy that could nap, and I've never been one that sleeps great, and I'm pretty peaceful. I'm pretty at peace with my life. I'm happy, and I still, toss and turn like crazy. At present, I could literally lay down and wake up the next morning. I hardly had a hair out of place. It's just how
Me
that
too.
mind just finally, yeah, but it was because once I finally surrendered, I just let it go. It was really crazy how that just happened, but it's just weird. But yeah, things are totally different, definitely in there. But once you make up your mind and shift that attitude, that's when you can start growing.
Yeah, so my message to people that are stuck, and again, it doesn't matter, if it's an addiction issue or just like family drama or just like low self-esteem or whatever. I mean, doesn't have to be like that. It
Yep.
doesn't have to be like that. We can make choices, we can make decisions every day to change where we're at, to change our trajectory. I know this, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, you're going to keep getting the same shit.
Yeah.
If you do something better, then start setting goals. Set a 5-year goal and say, okay, I got a 5-year goal. What can I do in the next year to accomplish that? What can I do in the next month to accomplish that? What can I do in the next week to accomplish that? What can I do tomorrow morning or tomorrow to start just putting one more step towards that goal? You can walk to California from Baltimore. You got to do it one step at a time. And
Bingo.
if you can get overwhelmed by it, say, oh, that's too far, I'll never do it. I don't care. Start walking.
That's it. That is it.
I would rather die halfway there knowing I tried than die sitting at home, knowing that I gave up. Like, so man, just take action.
It's just like addiction, like you said. We'll wrap it up with this. You sometimes you're living minute to minute, sometimes hour to hour, sometimes day to day. If you're stuck, you can have that same thing happening and you just hit on it. You can get overwhelmed by focusing on where you think you should be or want to be.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to back it up like you just walked through and focus on what you can do today and forget the rest, because otherwise you'll just you'll paralyze yourself thinking of how much it's going to take to get there. You can't do that. You just got to, what can I do today? Because the compound effect with money is the same compound effect in life. And those little daily wins will build your confidence and also get you on the path to achieve those goals.
Who was the author? Is it Daryl Hardy or something that wrote The Compound Effect? There's a book about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's called The Compound Effect. Yeah.
Man,
I can't remember the author, but yeah, I read it years ago.
Yeah, it's just incredible, that stuff, man. So the other advice that I would give to people that are, that are maybe struggling and trying to figure things out, like find somebody else that's already where you want to be. If, like, say for instance, if I'm talking to, some guy who wants to be a real estate investor, my advice to him is like, listen, man, like when you see other real estate investors that are doing this, like ask them out to lunch.
Yep.
Invite them out to lunch. You're going to pay for their lunch, but that $15 for their cheesesteak and fries or cheeseburger and fries might make you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, you want to start to build up your network. If you see a guy, if you just got your 30-day keychain and a dude that's got 5 years and he's doing great, like, man, say, hey brother, can I take you out to lunch, man? I want to hang out with you. The winners, the people that are winners, they want to see you win. The winners want to see you do well.
So true.
It doesn't matter what they have or what they don't have. Winners want you to win. The losers, you can have fucking $10 million in the bank. If you don't want to see other people do good, you're a fucking loser, man. It doesn't, what you have doesn't define whether you're a winner or a loser. What defines whether you're a winner or a loser is how you treat other people and what you want, how you want other people to be. And if
so true.
So if you're stuck, like, man, find other people that are doing it. Ask them out for lunch, man. The worst thing that can happen, they say, man, I ain't got time. Cool, that's fine. Well,
someone else
next week.
Yeah, exactly. Keep on asking.
Yes, I mean, I say this to guys. It's like, did a girl saying no ever stop you from getting laid? Like, a couple of girls said no, so you just became celibate the rest of it. Of course not, man. You never gave up on that, did you? It's like, come on, man. It's like, you just keep asking. You could be the ugliest, dumbest guy in the world. You go into a bar and ask 1,000 girls if they want to dance. One of them's going to say yes, but you can't give up. You can't ask 2 and say, well, he said no. I guess, like you get laid tonight, man. There's 998 more.
Yeah, that's the key. Don't give up. Well, where can people find you, Mark?
Mark at markowens.com is my email address. Facebook, I got a Facebook group for real estate people. Most people aren't going to be interested in that, but it's Mark Owens, REI. And I got to put together a website for my speaking stuff because I really do want to start speaking. I really want to help other people and spread the message that, man, you can do this.
Yeah.
Again, you can if you think you can. And
bingo, yep. You've got markowens.com. Okay.
Yep. So that's it, Steve.
Well, awesome, brother. Well, man, I appreciate your time. I think you've dropped a whole bunch of nuggets that'll definitely, hopefully, like you said, if we can just inspire one person, make a difference in one person's life, we're doing the right thing.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not selling anything,
Yeah, exactly.
A book or a course or like, hey, sign up for my,
no,
freaking mastermind thing. It's like, no, I'm not selling anything, man. I'm just selling hope. I just want people to do well, man. It's like, I did a podcast like this a year and a half ago. It was the first time I ever came out in public about this stuff. And it was a real estate podcast.
Oh, wow.
And the guys, he says, Mark, what were we doing before real estate? I said, well, how far back do you want to go? And he says, well, as far back as you want. And I was like, all right, well, when I was 17 years old,
so there you go.
in and out of jail, living in the streets, living in bandos, which are abandoned houses. I mean, that's, that was my life. And then I told some of that story, and he was like getting emails from people like they didn't see that coming.
There's no doubt. Anytime I do that, and you've experienced it now, anytime I post about it, you get more engagement. People want to know. People want to know everyone else struggles, and people that are going through what we've been through. That makes a huge impact.
And that's the goal.
So powerful.
You want to just show what's possible for people.
Yeah.
And I went out to a mountain out in Nevada, July 23rd of last year, to climb up the highest mountain in Nevada, which I failed because I'm fat and lazy. Didn't make it to the top. And there was a group of 12 of us, 11 people made it up. One of the people that made it up was 75 years old.
Wow.
The mountain is 13,136 feet high. And I know, and I'm like,
wow.
That day when it happened, I'm on blood pressure medication. It slows my heart rate down.
Yeah.
So I'm like
dizzy and stuff.
I'm just like, I wasn't dizzy, but if my heart rate, maybe it should have been 130, but I was only getting 110. So my muscles weren't getting the oxygen that they needed to push me up that hill. And I'm just like, fuck, man. It's like, I got to turn around. I don't want to be at the top, then can't make it back down and have a helicopter. I don't want to be that guy. But
you were the smart guys. So many people will let the ego and the pride get in the way, and then all the next thing you know, you're freaking in deep trouble. So that's a powerful message right there, actually.
Yeah. So that's how I felt about it that day. And then the next day, I see pictures on Facebook posted of like everybody at the top of the mountain, except for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, it crushed me, man.
I
felt like the fat kid sitting on the bench while all his friends drive away in the bus to go to the game. I didn't make the team. I'm just some fat, lazy kid. I didn't make the fucking team. And now all my friends are leaving and I'm stuck here. And I felt so bad, and then what happened is, this is just like this, I don't know if it's synchronicity or whatever, the law of attraction. But, so I'm looking at Facebook on my phone, sitting at this hotel room in Bishop, California, and scrolling through, and I see an ad for this thing called 75 Hard.
Oh yeah, there's this 75 Hard.
Tough looking guy, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, what the fuck's this? So I click on it and I read it. I'm like, that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm drinking my water.
That's awesome, bro. That is so cool.
I'm on day 22 or 23 right now. I've lost 10 pounds.
Oh,
I'm going back out to that mountain in July 23rd of next year. Out there to hit that one, and I want to hit Kings Peak in Utah and Whitney in California. I'm gonna actually go
awesome.
out. You're in Colorado, right?
I'm in Utah.
Utah. Yep. Do you know what Kings Peak is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's on my list, man. I've
cool.
been to the highest point of 41 states. I got 9 left.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I'm gonna go out to Leadville. I told my wife, like, I gotta get permission, because this is a long time. I said, listen, if I lose 33 pounds, I'm gonna get down to 180, get off my blood pressure medication, and finish this 75 hard.
That's awesome.
And Then I'm going to get out to Leadville next year. Like we have an RV. I'm going to drive my RV out, stay in Leadville for like 4 weeks, climb the 14ers that are out there, massive in Albert and whatever. Yeah, I've done Albert before, which is the highest mountain in Colorado.
Uh-huh.
Gonna, get acclimatized to, these 14ers,
Right.
off the blood pressure medication, all that shit. Then I'm gonna knock out, a few more of them while I'm out there. And she's good with it. I'll be gone for 2 months. I mean, she can fly out to see me, and I can fly for weekends and stuff. But
dude, that's cool. I mean, talk about inspiration, dude. You're a big time inspiration. And, like you said, you ran into adversity. It stung.
well, you
You
did the
do
same
nothing.
thing.
Dude, just take action and go for it.
Yeah, for the mountain stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I've just been kind of putting together, and like I can't take credit for this, but I can't remember like where I heard it, but it makes so much sense. It's like we do this as drug addicts. We're like, man, I should do this, or I shouldn't do that, or I shouldn't eat Big Macs. Like you can do with food stuff. Like I should eat better, or I should go on a diet. That's all like rational shit, and it doesn't last. It doesn't last. But when you get a feeling like the fat kid, like watching the bus drive away, it's like, like that feeling, that's what's motivating me. It's not, I've known my whole life, man, you shouldn't eat shit, you got to exercise, and, now I don't really, literally, I don't have a job. I mean, I work today because I got a bunch of rentals, and so it's real easy to go get a pizza, go to McDonald's,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. That's you're tying something that really got me. It's like the idle mind's the devil's playground. It's like my addiction. I had my business pretty much on autopilot, making killer money, and that's when my addiction. That was my work, going and hustling, and and same thing. I notice, with COVID and stuff, or if you're not doing anything around the house and you're bored, I'll just go in the kitchen and grab something. It's kind of that same thing happens. So.
That's it, man. I pick up a whole box of Little Debbie's. I mean, I'm like, I'm not eating, like, if I get out them Nutty Buddies, like, I'm not eating one, man. I'm eating the whole fucking box.
Yep. Well, man, Mark, I sure appreciate your time, man. This has been fantastic. So, folks, check it out, Mark, Owens.com, and you can find him on Facebook as well. And appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thank you, Steve. I really appreciate the opportunity, man. Keep doing it.
You bet. It's been my pleasure. Have a great day.
Take care.